Alright, let's be honest about something. If I blindfolded somebody, do you think they would recognize you're playing? The real problem is you aren't lacking skills. What you're lacking is identity awareness. Everybody learns scales, licks, patterns, etc., but nobody learns decision making. It's almost like most guitar players are copying answers without understanding the question. How many of you can relate to that? So the reason you end up sounding the same is because of over reliance on certain things, okay? Like shapes, muscle memory, safe zone playing, fear of sounding bad, which ends up killing exploration. So this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about my philosophy of improvisation. The way I see it, it's life. You can plan how much ever you want, but you never really know what life is going to bring to you. You go to school, you go to college, or like you are homeschooled, whatever, and you are essentially taught certain basic skills, certain fundamental skills, certain fundamental understanding of how the world works, how the economy works, etc. And then after a point, you're set free into the world. Now, you use this fundamental knowledge that you've gathered all these years to create a life for yourself. And you don't particularly know where that life is going to take you. You might have a decent idea about it depending on how well you've planned your life. I wanted to be a rock star when I wanted to become a musician, and when I dreamed of becoming a musician. I still want to be a rock star. Like when I play on big stages, I love playing big stages. But at the same time, somewhere in the journey, I also fell in love with teaching. And teaching became a very important part of me as a person. It's really me. I feel I can be myself when I teach. So during that journey, I had figured that what I really want to do as a guitar player is just pick up the instrument and play, express myself, speak my mind. It's like I should be able to just pick up any of my guitars, or any guitar for that matter, and then see where my mind, my eyes, my ears, my intellect, my hands, my technique, whatever I've gathered and whatever I keep gathering in my journey, where that takes me in that moment. Because at that moment, I feel vulnerable but free at the same time, but also, most importantly, I feel real. I don't feel like I am faking anything. I don't feel like I'm faking that music, because in solo guitar improvisation, you can't fake it. You really can't fake it. So, which eventually changed my mind from thinking about notes to thinking about choices. Let's say I'm taking an E flat harmonic major scale, okay? So, the scale sounds like this. Now, when I'm just playing it that way, it literally just sounds like a scale, doesn't it? But I want to make music with it. So if I am to really just start meditating with that, so let's just talk about that little journey that I went into. It's not like I was trying to predetermine where I want to go. I just decided that I'm going to stick to one octave. And somewhere in that journey, I was like, okay, I want to play the one chord, but I want to add some spice to it. So I could figure that I could just play a major 7 sharp 5 and 9 will be available to me. So I added 9 on top. And that ended up giving me an E flat major 7 sharp 5 with a 9 on top to work with. And that just takes you places, right? So when you are trying to improvise that way, like free form improvisation, when you're really just being vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there without any kind of backup, it makes you explore music in a way which is spiritually really satisfying. And that's really how I feel about it. Now, in that process, if you manage to connect well with your instrument, the expressiveness from deep within will come out into your instrument, right? You will feel a different kind of touch on your left hand and your right hand. And that in turn will change the tone of your instrument, which in turn will create a sound that's you. Now, of course, like what I did is pretty much how I sound, right? Your story might be slightly different, but that doesn't mean that the philosophy can change. Like the basic philosophy and the basic principle still remains the same. That is, take whatever concept you're learning, take whatever idea you're learning. It could be a triad, it could be a scale, it could be whatever, and then explore it in that moment without any kind of safe zone around you. And then eventually, as you keep improvising, like as we keep going into free form improvisation, right, we eventually reach a point where ideas start flowing through us, and at some point you might become a little bit more rhythmic about it. Let's say I go back to playing this particular thing again. So when you add that little addition to your improvisation, then you start grooving with it. And then your body starts to feel the music a little bit more, right? So essentially, 4 important things to look into. Number 1 would be the way you approach phrasing in your improvisation. Number 2 is gonna be the rhythms you think of. Number 3 is gonna be expressiveness, bends, vibrato, how beautifully you manage to incorporate it into your ideas. And number 4, space. Okay? If your ideas do not have space in between, you are far from really making music. You're still noodling. Noodling is not improvisation. Noodling is noodling. Noodling is literally playing BS. It's just whatever. Improvisation is composition in real time. So understand the difference between the two. So here's a practical framework that you can try following. Okay? It's like a 3-step identity builder. Number 1 is limit notes, like I did over here, where I limited myself to 1 octave, and on some occasion I went beyond an octave. But then for the most part, stick within that limitation that you set for yourself. Number 2, explore expression. Now, expression is something that can really be explored on this beautiful instrument that we call the guitar, because you can bend strings, you can slide into notes, you can use a whammy. This has a whammy, I just haven't bothered connecting it, just like putting on the whammy bar on it. But there are multiple ways you can do that. You could also use your volume knob and tone knob. You can change pickups. If you're on an acoustic guitar, you could even like incorporate percussive playing. I'm not into that, but if you're into percussive playing, that's another way of like adding a dimension to your playing altogether. And number three, repetition but with intention. Okay, if I just randomly keep repeating this versus so yeah, that was a mix of all of these three, this three-step identity builder that I mentioned over here. If you want to really build your own voice, this is something that needs guidance and structure, right? It's not about random practicing. You know, you can, in fact, I was having a lesson a little earlier, maybe an hour ago, before I started making this video, with a much older student. Like he's like 25 years older to me. This person was talking about how he likes to take little things from here and there, like little bits and pieces from rock and roll, little bits and pieces from jazz, little bits and pieces from blues, little bits and pieces from Hindustani music, and then see where his mind takes him, where his creativity takes him. And I think that's beautiful. And I resonate with that quite a bit because I think I'm very much like that. Like, regardless of the fact that I'm quite literally trained mostly by jazz players, I mostly learned from jazz players. The music I listen to the most is jazz, like old school bebop or just old school jazz, post bop. That's the kind of jazz I usually listen to. But then what I end up playing is pretty different. Maybe it's also directly related to the fact that I play with different kinds of musicians as well for a living. So I am exposed to a lot of different kinds of music, and throughout my journey I've had different phases, right? At one phase I used to love metal, at one phase I used to love rock and roll, at one phase I was really into the blues, at one phase I was into hip hop, I was into R&B, and bits and pieces of all of those phases stayed with me. And I guess that's a beautiful thing, because I've never not liked having that, and I don't think you should either. Keep an open mind, let things add up, see where it takes you. It's a beautiful thing. Comment down below as to what you're struggling with. I read all the comments, and in fact, thank you everybody for all the love that you've been giving me on my recent videos. I'm glad these videos have been helpful. I plan on releasing more videos, so make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that whenever a new video is out, you get to know first. And while we're on that topic, as I've said before, this is a completely independent channel. The only thing sponsoring it, the only person sponsoring it is me. So if you would like to support me, I am a full-time music educator. I only do one-on-one lessons via Zoom. You can get in touch with me. My details are in the description box below, and I'll also add it somewhere on the screen. You'll definitely see it. I basically teach music around the realms of jazz, rock and roll, blues, improvised music, solo guitar, and whatever little stuff I've picked over the years, music theory, ear training, etc. So yeah, that's one way of supporting me. Another way of supporting me is you can check out my music on Bandcamp. Everything I spoke about in this video, all my music on Bandcamp is quite literally a direct reflection of everything that I've said. And of course, I plan on releasing more music. I've just really not had the time to sit down and record more music. But maybe I should. Maybe I should. I'll record some more music. I at least want to put out 2 more tunes by the end of this month. Let's see if I get some time. And a free way of supporting me, which anybody can do, is, well, just hit subscribe, comment down below, or just share the video. A like would be nice if this video was helpful. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.